What a pile of So I might have added the beep for dramatic effect. In reality, it sounded a little bit more like Ned Flanders going on a rant.
And no Bible stories for you tonight.
But this is so bad. We need to talk about this. CNET is a trusted review source for thousands of different types of products, and they just so happen, with their best grills of 2024, dabble into a segment of the market that I happen to know a little bit about, perhaps more than the average consumer, which maybe have exposed some flaws so bad that I personally can't see myself ever trusting a CNET review again in the future based off of what's in here. In fact, why don't we just get into it? So things for me go sideways nearly right away, which is, I'm wondering if even this article meets the standards that CNET has for journalistic integrity. So one of the things that caught my attention right away is this statement that Big Green Egg, Kamado Joe, Char Griller, Vision, and Char Broil round out this category of grill. So I'm going to unpack that a little bit more, as there's already a couple issues. But the second thing on the side, which CNET barely points out, so they say our expert award-winning staff selects products we cover and rigorously research and test our top picks. If you buy through our links, we may get a commission. So good on them for disclosing that affiliate sales and a commission may have part of their review process. But if you go into their testing methodology, there's a couple extra things that caught my attention. So first is the expert staff reviewing these. And I couldn't help but notice the first thing I saw on the picture of this test, including a Big Green Egg, front and center, is they installed it wrong. They installed the bottom draft door vent off to the side versus the dome front and center. And every instruction manual that Big Green Egg provides, or any instruction videos or things like that, you install these just like I have, so you can sort of see the vent on the front in alignment with the dome. So this is perhaps a reviewer that has maybe never seen a Kamado style grill before, or perhaps didn't follow the instructions a little bit more to come on that. But already there's a few things going on with the expert staff. Next up is the commitment to accurate facts. And so I saw earlier that they said the grills that round out this category include Big Green Egg, Kamado Joe, Vision, Char Griller, as well as Char Broil. Well, Char Broil used to make a Kamado style grill, but on their website and according to a press release, that was discontinued nearly 3 or 4 years ago. And so you can still find them on Amazon, as well as retailers like sometimes Home Depot or Walmart, which I believe is the affiliate link that was embedded inside of this article. But this is a product that's discontinued, and the only accessory or part that I can find on the Char Broil website is a replacement heat deflector. So if you have any other warranty issues, parts may become incredibly hard to find. And so this wasn't something that was disclosed on the website. You would not know this as a customer. If you went and followed the link, bought it from the Walmart affiliate link, you may have a hard time finding even warranty or replacement parts, given that it's been discontinued now for a couple years. Next up is picking popular products. And so again, nothing wrong with the ones that were included, but it's the ones that were excluded that really caught my attention. So if I break it into ceramic, we don't have things like the Primo grill, another leading ceramic Kamado. We don't have the Kamado, the SNS grill, the Apex grill. There's a whole bunch of ceramic grills that are not even included. So we say our intent is to review popular products. We've skipped right past that. And then on the metal side, you've skipped past other leaders, things like the Weber Summit E6, which is one that I've reviewed, the Broil King, and a whole host of other Kamados. And so by definition of saying we want to review the popular products, we've included a couple maybe not so popular, like the Vision or the discontinued Char Broil, and completely just blasted over the true sort of representation of some of the segment leaders in the Kamado space. Next up is this comment of, if we can't get it or it's not provided to us, we'll just go buy it and make sure that we're giving you a fair and complete review. But that doesn't seem to be a standard that was withheld here, because again, there is no mention. If this is the only article that you read about the Kamado grill category, you wouldn't even know brands like Weber Summit, Broil King, the new Spider Huntsman I skimmed over, the Broil King Keg, Primo, if I repeated that, sorry, the Kamado, SNS, and a whole bunch of other grills. So this is, again, something that is on the values part of the website that for some reason was not applied in this particular review. Next up, if you pay close attention to the photo, which I've done here, maybe I'm going off in the deep end because that's where I noticed, you know, the big green egg vent door not installed correctly and aligned with the dome. There's another little curiosity that I can't help sort of catch my spidey sense of something weird going on, which is the three products that there's actually photos for are the Big Green Egg, the Kamado Joe, as well as the Charbroil Commander Kamado, which, as I mentioned, is discontinued. You can't get it. And the winner in the segment is the Char Griller Akorn Kamado, another grill that I've tested and reviewed. But the photo that's provided here, unlike all the other photos, it's from the manufacturer's marketing library. So this is the lifestyle library product image provided in the marketing materials from the manufacturer. And there's no evidence that the grill was actually used. In fact, all I can actually see on the property for the time of the test is the grill that's discontinued. And I can't help but wonder, no evidence to support this otherwise, but unless it's provided by CNET, it looks to me as if they tested a grill, discovered it was discontinued in the Commander Kamado, and instead just pivoted to another metal Kamado that had an Amazon link available. And given the runaway temperatures and some of the issues that they encountered with their test, I can't help but wonder if they're even actually talking about or providing data or the cooks on the grill that they claim to have reviewed and picked as one of their three winners. So if I get a statement or any clarifying evidence that they actually did review the Char Griller Akorn and instead just omitted it from all pictures and all data down below in their article that sort of prove that it was actually there for the test, I'll be sure to pin that comment for you if you're watching this a little bit later on than September 2024 when I'm recording the video. Next up, that really stood out to me is the comparison of indirect heat versus direct heat. So the Big Green Egg that was used in this test didn't come with the optional convector or the expander kit, which has sort of a multi-tier divide and conquer rack system comparable to what I use in my Kamado Joe, nor did they have the traditional convector plate, or now called the convector plate for indirect cooking. The same was true in terms of either the Char Griller Akorn, which I'm not sure they used, or the Charbroil Commander, which also doesn't come with the heat deflector plate, or didn't come with the heat deflector plate back when it was being sold new a couple years ago. And so in this test, you have a taste test comparison going on based off of a low and slow cook, where two ribs are cooked direct and the other two ribs are cooked indirect. And that's an experiment that I've actually done on my channel side by side, and these do not taste remotely the same. So not adding a component just because the manufacturer didn't provide it, even though you say you'll go out and buy grills or products if they're not provided. For some reason, the decision was made in this review not to buy the required heat deflector plate in order to have a bit of a fair comparison of indirect cooking. So I don't think they gave a fair shake to the egg or whichever metal Kamado they were actually using in this model. Next up is the comparing of temp data between these direct and indirect setups. So one of the praises for the egg is that it was more responsive than others. So again, if we are running a fire direct and another one indirect, if I put a probe 1 inch above the cooking grate, which is the methodology that the reviewer in this case used, you'll get wildly different responsiveness from a direct setup to an indirect setup. That has nothing to do with the grill itself. So I appreciate they were praising the Big Green Egg for being the most responsive in the test based on nearly 20 years of experience of cooking on ceramic Kamados. This is just more a function of a probe sitting directly over hot coals and reacting more quickly than a probe sitting above a ceramic heat deflector, or even if it was a metal heat deflector, where you're going to get a little bit slower response time. So that, again, I think is an invalid comparison in terms of having anything to do with picking a winner. Next, they mentioned the slow roller. But even in the data, I saw their temperatures sort of shoot up well above 300 degrees Fahrenheit. They didn't mention what they were testing, which is another interesting thing. The slow roller versus the deflector plates can have differences in terms of the temperature. One of the things I liked about the slow roller is its consistency in temperature from left to right to front to back of the grill. If they did use the slow roller, they've now exceeded the maximum temperature. So even though it might be stamped on 500 degrees Fahrenheit, Kamado Joe has updated the specs for the slow roller on their website to a maximum of 300 degrees Fahrenheit. So if this reviewer had the slow roller in and showed their data sort of going well above 300 degrees Fahrenheit, they've just potentially accidentally voided their warranty on the slow roller by exceeding the maximum temperature with their struggles of controlling the grill and getting it into the operating range that they wanted. Another thing that I noticed in the article is potentially an inaccurate statement saying there's no difference save for the slow roller and a different grill cart between the Kamado Joe Series 2 for less money than the Kamado Joe Series 3. Well, that's accurate, except for a whole bunch of other things. The Series 3 is 4 inches taller. Because it's 4 inches taller, it affords a completely different divide and conquer rack. So you get a 3-tier rack versus a 2-tier rack. There's also metal side shelves versus the HPDE, if I got the acronym right, sort of, but the plastic resin side shelves that come on Series 1 and Series 2, even though some people have reported getting units shipped with the metal. The official specs on the Kamado Joe website, that is a pointed distinction between the Series 2 and the Series 3, along with the inclusion of a charcoal basket. So I won't bore you kind of going on and on, other than to make the point that there's a little bit more behind it than just the slow roller and a different grill cart between the Series 2 and the Series 3. Also, perhaps alarmingly, is there was no mention of the warranty. So when we have metal grills versus ceramic grills, not only is there some differences in terms of how much heat they retain, there's also differences in their price as well as their resistance to rust. So whether it's things like the Weber Summit or the Char Griller Akorn or the Charbroil Commander discontinued that was used in this test, metal exposed to the elements over a long time has a higher propensity to rust, which is why you're going to get a much shorter warranty period on a metal grill than something like a ceramic grill. So behind me, I happen to have Kamado Joe's, but this is the same for Big Green Egg as well as Primo, where any leading ceramic Kamado brand offers a lifetime warranty on their ceramic components. So if you are the one who bought the grill, you know full well you're never going to have a problem for the duration of that grill. I think I finally found something useful for this article. It will serve as a great fire starter in helping me get ready for tonight's dinner. So if I was in the market for a new Kamado, what would I look for? Well, so instead I came along prepared with a list of 5 things that I think you should have in your shopping list to consider if you're in the market for a new Kamado in 2024. So first, as I just closed off previously, warranty. And this is something that is changing. I did a video a year ago talking about warranty or some of the things that were being reported on changes in warranty, but understanding the warranty tied to your Kamado grill from each manufacturer is where I would start, as well as how they are made available. So there's differences from each manufacturer. Some grills, if you buy them, for example, at the time that I did my research last year, like Pit Boss, if you buy that from a retailer, maybe it's Costco or Home Depot, you don't deal directly with Pit Boss, you deal exclusively with where you bought it. Then there are grill companies like Kamado Joe, where you might buy the grill at a Home Depot or a retailer or directly from their website, but all those warranty requests are handled through an online form, which could be a source of satisfaction or sometimes dissatisfaction for people looking to talk to a real person about their warranty. But this is a scalable solution for many people looking to have sort of a consistent experience. So there's kind of some pros and cons with each model. And then the last one is the dealer supported model. And this is one that both Primo and Big Green Egg have sort of, I should maybe call them dealer / online. So there's a hybrid. If your dealer is out of business, for example, or you've moved, both those companies have sort of a solution to reach out to them directly. But for most part, if you bought from a dealer in your town, you can drive back to that dealer and they'll order in those components and get them for you. So making sure you understand the warranty in terms of what's covered, how long it's covered, as well as how you would actually experience or interact with that warranty can be a major point of differentiation across all the leading Kamado brands. So I would definitely start with paying attention to that. The next thing that I think should be most important on your list is something like accessories. You know, I've used this analogy before. For me, Kamados are a little bit like the SUV of grills. They're not a pickup truck, they're not a sports car, they're not a family car, but they can do a little bit of all 3 of those things really well. And accessories is what really unlocks that many things really well for a Kamado style grill. It could be a pizza oven to searing a steak, restaurant quality, charcoal sear, to smoking a brisket, to ribs, chicken, you name it, almost everything you can do in a Kamado style grill. And I really enjoy sort of all these different accessories to help me get even more out of one grill. I can't still, years later, even after I started this channel, I've not come across a single grill category to sort of be the grill to rule them all. And I know in YouTube it's a little bit unique where sometimes people like myself have multiple grills and reviewing. Some of them I bought, like my Big Joe Series 1 or Joe Jr. behind me. Other ones were given to me at no cost, like the Series 3. So YouTube, you might notice a large collection of grills. This is not normal. That's not where I started, and this is not what many of my friends and family have. It's a one grill to sort of rule them all, and that's where the Kamado really shines. Is there's not a cook that I can think of that you can't throw at it and get amazing results, which is why I am so keen to recommend them. Anybody looking for one grill, I can't think of anything better than a Kamado, and accessories is a major point of differentiation. Some manufacturers have great accessory options. So Kamado Joe has great options. Big Green Egg has like multiplied the amount of accessories from when I last owned one and used one regularly. So they have a comparable suite of offerings. Primo also has a pretty comparable set of offerings. And then one of my criticisms of a grill like the Weber Summit, the official website for accessories, lists a few things like a grill cover or a charcoal basket. I can't remember, but there's like 4 or 5 things, and that's it. And the accessory ecosystem from the third party market is almost equally as limited. So depending on what you want to do with the grill, I would really spend some time evaluating the manufacturer's accessories, either ones like Big Green Egg or Kamado Joe, where they offer rotisseries and pizza ovens and baking stones, or third-party products in terms of helping to get more. I would check and see what's available or not before making a decision. Third on my list would be comparing quality versus price. I mentioned earlier, you can get into a Kamado on the metal side for a fraction of the cost. And if you're willing to take some of those steps with a cover or protecting it, leaving it in the garage like I do mine, you can extend the life. But if that's not an option that's going to live outside, I would spend a minute considering sort of quality versus price. And if I have to replace something a couple times over a 10-year period, have I potentially paid more than the cost of the ceramic Kamado up front? And that personally was one of my decisions when I bought a Big Green Egg nearly 15 years ago, is the sort of buy it once versus buy it multiple times. So that'd be something that I would take a look at. I would also take a look at any Facebook groups and or websites for owners in terms of talking about the quality. This is something that ebbs and flows over time in terms of people's satisfaction with what's coming out of the box. So I would take a minute and sort of get some owner's perspective on the quality and the experience of what's going on with the grills that they purchased, and make sure that that's a family that you want to step into. Fourth and fifth, I'm going to do fairly quickly, is I'm going to unpack them a little bit further in some more detail in just a second, and that is company longevity as well as performance. So let's get into that. Performance. One of the things I love testing on my channel is comparing different grills in terms of how they perform about one another. But if CNET was to do a video analyzing my past reviews and look for errors, this is one that I've learned a lot over history. So for example, I did a head-to-head of Big Green Egg versus Kamado Joe. I cut a brisket in half and then was blindfolded and had Sarah hand me awkwardly the 2 pieces of brisket to see if I could guess which one came off of which grill. And I guessed right once and I guessed wrong once. So 50-50. So I not able to tell perfectly in terms of which one was cooked on which grill. So super close. I later did another example with my friend Al from Eat More Vegans, and he had a high stakes challenge for himself where he was going to switch his Kamado brand based off of the winner. So we did a Big Green Egg versus a Kamado Joe cook. But as a fan of live sports, we're getting ready. Buffalo Bills are kicking off this Sunday for their first game. But if you look at any professional team, whether it be baseball, football, you name it, home field advantage makes a big difference. And almost every team in every sport, there is this notion of home field advantage. And with a little bit of history, reflecting back on that test with Al, I definitely had home field advantage, right? He flew 1,000 miles away from home for him. Instead of cooking on an extra large Big Green Egg like he's used to, he was cooking on a large. He ran into some temperature, control differences because, again, using the plate setter or now the convector versus the expander or some other accessory differences that he was used to versus the egg that I had available from my neighbor to borrow. There's a whole bunch of things that were different, and he ran into some temperature control issues with his cook. Well, we were out enjoying lunch, and I was looking at my meter chart and seeing a nice flat line. He saw sort of some temperatures going up and down and had to rush back and intervene with that. There was also some technique differences. I went sort of fat side up based on doing testing that led me to proving that that is the best possible result. And he did a hybrid starting fat side down versus fat side up to finish. And so there was technique. So we got different equipment, different technique, and home field advantage. And so while I might have thought in that particular video that this was, best Kamado versus best Kamado, it might actually have been a little bit more of James's brisket versus Al's brisket on that particular day in those particular circumstances was the best. As I've delved in to this topic even further by hiring a third-party research company at one of the nation's top universities who's doing CFD testing, this is an area that I plan to do even more in the future in terms of really understanding what's the best performance versus what's the best individual performance that goes behind some of these things. So all of that to say, performance is a lot closer than you might be led to believe by any manufacturer's marketing claims. So going over my top 3 to consider in the Kamado space, I'm going to stick to the ceramic brands here with Primo, Kamado Joe, as well as Big Green Egg. So let's start with Primo. So one of the advantages of Primo is its unique shape. I had an opportunity to start testing this earlier in the year, and I did a cook with 6 racks of ribs. So for any long cooks, this is where the tagline oval is better, or oval beats round every day. For long cooks like a brisket or ribs, there's definitely an advantage of having the extended length. But just like there's an advantage with the extended length, there's a disadvantage on the depth. And so when I did those 6 racks of ribs, the only way I could get them to fit is by stacking them on top of one another, which is not ideal since the ribs that are underneath are not being exposed to smoke and convection airflow the same way, and they weren't cooking exactly even. So not everybody would be doing 6 racks of ribs. That's one of the pros and potentially one of the cons of the oval shape. One of the other potential cons is, in comparison to these two, whether it's Kamado Joe or Big Green Egg, is the dome temperature gauge quality and accuracy is not, I think, of the same par. So some manufacturers use tell-true thermometers. I'm not sure what Primo is using, but it was not as accurate, nor is it as adjustable, or at least the one that I received on my test unit, it was not adjustable like both Kamado Joe and Big Green Egg are. Next, let's talk about Big Green Egg. So Big Green Egg is the originator of the North American Kamado, right? So Ed Fisher's story nearly 50 years ago got started in terms of importing Kamados and eventually made his own, which we now know as the Big Green Egg. So being around the longest, the Big Green Egg has the largest product offering of different Kamado sizes. In fact, I've owned a couple of these unique sizes, including the Big Green Egg Mini, as well as the Mini Max, but you can go as small as the Mini to the Mini Max to a unique size to Big Green Egg, the medium to large, extra large, or double extra large. There's a whole bunch of different sizes, configuration, shapes, or even adjacent products like the Chimenea. Big Green Egg has the most diversity in sizes in ceramic cookers and products like the Chimenea for your backyard. And since I left a number of years ago, I do want to comment on the growth or the improvement in accessories. That was one of the things that was a hesitation for me back in 2019 when I started this channel. If you watch one of my very first videos, there was a complaint about the lack of OEM branded accessories, and that has completely changed in the 5 or 6 years since I left the Big Green Egg family officially, as there is a number of accessories just like Primo and Kamado Joe that can help you get more out of your Big Green Egg. Last but not least, let's talk about the Kamado Joe. And like the article cited, this is something I do agree with, which is the sort of the best all-in-one. And it's not that other manufacturers like Primo and Big Green Egg don't offer starting kits now. They've improved on this on their website. Not all dealers merchandise it that way. So no matter where you are, whether you walk into a Home Depot or your local barbecue store, or you go on the website, the Kamado Joe is the same product and the same consistency in terms of what you get between Series 1 2, and 3 with different options, features, and inclusions, even though if at the end of the day I can still get food to taste identical on my Series 1 Big Joe as I can my Series 3, I think is the best in the business in terms of how to present your product lineup and features and benefits, whether it be I need some extra grilling space or I want the inclusion of an airlift hinge, which makes it easy to lift your grill. This doesn't have, nope, not gonna happen, versus airlift hinge where I can one finger open and close my dome to the 3-tier divide and conquer. These are all sort of different features between the Series 3, and I put a chart up to help you sort of understand what the difference is between the 3 of them. But again, something I think Kamado Joe does best in the business in terms of articulating their product lineup to customers potentially about to make a decision. So in addition to the 5 things to consider, there's one more bonus one for you to consider, which is just the fact that things are always evolving and changing, and experiences or reviews, they might be accurate at a particular point in time, much like a photograph. If I were to take a selfie right now, that's a picture of me instantly of when I was younger. And while I don't age, I at least hope not, fast enough to see a material difference in the time that I take a selfie and show it to you, the same is true of reviews. So when I made my switch from Big Green Egg to Kamado Joe in 2019, at that particular time, we kind of go from then to now for all 3 companies, a lot has changed. So Primo has changed ownership, so that's gone from George selling the company to Nick at Empire Comfort Systems, and they've done a whole bunch of new things. Kamado Joe that I switched to as the small, nimble upstart sort of Bobby's company and vision. It has been acquired twice. First by private equity and now by Middleby Outdoors. And Big Green Egg, one of the things that I called out, for example, way back in 2019 for my reasoning was the lack of accessories, which has completely changed. So again, now there's a rotisserie, a pizza oven, a whole bunch of things. The product, which again, has completely changed. Now there's regulator caps, new gaskets, a new rack system, along with a really slick top sliding rack on the expander kit. So all of these things that might have been true for me, 5 years ago have been completely addressed and transformed. So all of that to say, all of these companies, a lot has changed in 5 years. I'm sure a whole bunch more will change in 5 years from now. So whether it's my review or any other review, these are accurate or best representation at a particular point in time. Make sure you do a pulse check before committing to any decisions, just to make sure that all these themes and criteria are the same, which is why I give you those 5 things as a benchmark, which I think should stand the test of time and help you make an informed decision. Thanks again for your time and choosing to hang out. And if you're like me, I'm going to approach any future CNET review with a healthy dose of skepticism, given some of the article's shortcomings, in my opinion, being a bit of an aficionado in the Kamado space. That's it for today. I'm James from Sophie Dad Barbecue signing off. Remember, don't be afraid to fire it up.